Hello! I'm going to share something today that was given to me 21 years ago by the Holy Spirit. It says in the course that the course removes blocks to knowledge, and that God supplies knowledge when we've removed enough blocks. And when I was actually 42, I was in a very desperate place. My career was difficult. I was in debt. My marriage was a painful place to be. I've got responsibilities. I've got not enough money coming in to pay the bills. And I actually started doing a course in miracles. I think partly because I needed a miracle. Well, I needed several. And I didn't know how blessed I was. In the mornings, I used to take my two dogs for a walk every morning in a place called Bulwell Hall Park, which is a big park in Nottingham. It's a nice place, and at the top of the park there's a wood, and it's about half a mile around the wood if you walk around the inside. So I used to take the dogs round, and they'd be barking at squirrels and chasing rabbits and, generally enjoying themselves. But that was when I thought I was just listening to my own mind, in the sense of, pondering questions and trying to think things through. What I didn't realise was that the Holy Spirit was coaching me. And I got this continuous voice that was asking me questions. And then as I came up with answers, it was asking me more questions. And it was like being in a tutorial. But I just thought it was one half of my mind talking to the other half. I just thought it was the normal thought process. And in the absolute sense, that's all it is, because the Holy Spirit is something we're connected to. So, as I've discussed before in the past, lesson 200, I'm not a body, I am free, I'm still as God created me, is true. The food chain comes from the earth, and it says that Adam was made from the clay of the earth. So our physical body is the top of the food chain, so it's, in a sense, it's clay, the physical body, but that's not what we are. And for those of you that are, let's say, scientifically orientated and believe that the mind is created by the brain is part of the body. And so our mind is not dependent on the body or the brain. Our mind is what it is. It's, according to the Course in Miracles, and I believe the Bible says so too, we are thoughts within the mind of God. So, what is God? What is a thought? Well, I walked around, and one particular sunny morning, and I'd been to a transcendental meditation centre meeting the week before, and people were talking about enlightenment, and if you had enlightenment, then you knew all the spiritual answers. And to be perfectly honest, I was a little bit very sceptical, but I was a little bit kind of annoyed. I thought, well, they talk rubbish. You're supposed to throw your brain away and just do as you're told. I mean, it's like all the oppressive religions do that. They don't let people think for themselves. But I know that for every human being, every life that exists, God will find a different way of reaching them. This is what happened to me. This is my story. As you probably also know, I practice Chinese acupuncture, which works with something called qi. So the idea to me that there is an energy that controls the body is a very familiar idea. The Chinese say it's qi. The Bible calls it your soul. While your soul is present in your body, you're alive. while your chi is flowing, you're alive. So who is to say that the two systems are not talking about the same thing? I think that they are. I know in Chinese medicine that they make a distinction between the ethereal soul and the corporeal soul, but it doesn't really matter. It's all energy, and we are energy. We're not a body, we're free. We're still as God created us. So I was walking around arguing with myself, I thought, when actually I was receiving a tutorial from the Holy Spirit. And the voice said to me, according to Chinese medicine, there is a yin and a yang aspect to every organ. Now, I'll just briefly explain that. If you take, say, for example, the spleen. The spleen has a physical body somewhere in the middle here. And that is its yin aspect. But its function is its yang aspect. So what it's supposed to do is the yang aspect of the spleen, and the actual physical body is the yin aspect of the spleen. So I have my physical body, but I have an energy that controls the metabolic processes. So if my energy is flowing, my chi is flowing, then I experience good physical health and a clear mind. So going back to Einstein's theory, which I'm always harping on about, E equals mc squared, it argues that energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, which means in plain English that if you want to make an atom, you need a lot of energy. Now, if you use that energy to form an atom, you've got an atom. If you split it with a particle accelerator and blast it so that the energy is released, you get the same amount of energy back as you had before you created the atom. So what it tells us is that life is a continuum. There's no way around it. What exists is what's always existed. So this voice in my head was saying to me, so you know this, David, you know that you've always existed, and you know that you're not this physical body. So if you've always existed, in the beginning, when God used the Big Bang to create the universe, were you part of the physical matter, or were you part of the intention for it to do what it is, to do what it does? And I thought, I can't be part of the physical matter, because if that's what I am, then I am a body, and that contradicts what the Course teaches. And I thought, so wait a minute, hold on. If I've always existed, and I'm talking to you as well, you've always existed, always, 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 okay? If I've always existed, where was I at creation? And I thought, well, there's only a choice of two places, either the physical or the intelligence that caused it. And I thought, wait a minute, therefore my true nature is I am God. And the voice corrected me and said, no, not therefore you are God, simply you are God. And I thought, so I've looked out through eyes like these before, in bodies that I've occupied, my body, whichever body that was, in previous lifetimes. And I've looked out at trees like this, and I've looked at life, and my dogs came running towards me, and I thought, and inside those dogs is a life energy that's intelligent, which is part of the same intelligence that caused the universe. And I bowed to my dogs, and I bowed to the trees. And when I went home, I bowed to my wife, and she said, oh, that's nice, darling. And then I tried to explain what I'd experienced. And I realized while I was driving back in the car, I actually realized it's not a case of therefore you are God. It is simply you are God, because reason came after God to explain God. God existed before reason. So God does not need reason to say therefore you are God. Isness predates thinking. So, you might be thinking, well, that's an arrogant statement. He's very big-headed. But what I have to point out is that I did not realise I am God. I realised that we are. We are. All of us. Every one of us. When Jesus said, whosoever you serve, you also serve me, he was speaking from the divine consciousness. He was speaking from knowing what he was. And so he was saying that whoever you help in life is also God. It's so simple, really. When I do this, to say hello, I know who I'm bound to. I've got a few more YouTubes on this that I'm going to do. I've been putting off sharing it for a long time because I think I've been scared to say it, but there's nothing to fear. We'll outlive everything. This is what I realised in the woods, that I'll outlive my body, I'll outlive my personality, I'll outlive my difficult situation. And they'll all just be chapters in a book that I'm writing at the moment, you know, the Book of Dave. Chapter 17, the hero's in trouble. What's going to happen in chapter 23? How's it going to turn out? But just know for sure you're going to outlive the book and go on to write another one. I'm going to share some more shortly. I'm going to stop now and let you have a think about it. Decide that he's completely bonkers, or either you get it. Blessings.